Live with quarterfinals for the VGC Draft League. And this is going to be a shorter stream now that we're down to just 8 players, 4 matches to review. So we'll go ahead and get started with Lucky versus Lumaris. We got Lumaris on the bottom side of your screen with Mouse Hold, Hatterene, Dragalge, Low Kicks, Mudsdale, Belly Bolt. I'm sorry, that's the top of the screen. There's 2 Mouse Hold on the screen. Forgive me. That's on the top of your screen. Bottom of the screen is Lucky, with their Annihilate, Mouse Hold, Gothorita, Vaporeon, Skeledirge, and Mudsdale. Let's go. Alright, leading off for Lumaris is the Mouse Hold and Low Kicks. Meanwhile, likewise, Mouse Hold and Mudsdale for Lucky here. Gonna start things off with a feint from the Mouse Hold, so that Assurance from the Low Kicks can connect with the Mouse Hold on Lucky's side, but it's not enough to get the KO. Meanwhile, a strong Rock Slide from Mudsdale is more than enough to take out the Low Kicks. That's a little bit of chip damage to the Mouse Hold on the opposite end. Now we have Dragalge coming in to take Low Kick's place, as the Population Bomb from Lumaris strikes against the opposing Mouse Hold, finishing it off. It does find the Rocky Helmet though, but with only so much health left, Mouse Hold is not going to take too much damage on the receiving end. Meanwhile, Dragalge with a Hydro Pump aimed into the Mudsdale, not enough for a KO, but Mudsdale finishes off the other Mouse Hold on the field. Entering the field is an opposing Mudsdale, curiously enough. Annihilate takes the field for the first time, uses Focus Energy, pretty interesting. Their Hydro Pump from Dragalge, still not going to be able to KO the Mudsdale here, but the follow-up from the Body Press on Mudsdale is not enough either, thanks to the stamina boost it received in these past couple of turns. Heavy Slam from Lucky's Mudsdale finds a target onto Dragalge, who protects in the following turn. We'll have Rage Fist from the Annihilate, not going to find the target on Dragalge from the Protect. High Horsepower from Lumaris' Mudsdale finishes off Lucky's Mudsdale finally. Skeledirge comes on and Terras into Grass as Dragalge responds with Terra Water. Rage Fist from the Annihilate finally hits Dragalge, and with the critical hit boost, 42% of its health is gone despite the strength of Rage Fist at this point. The Hydro Pump this time aimed at Annihilate, looking trying to finish it up with a double up from the High Horsepower, but it's nowhere near enough. Meanwhile, Will-O-Wisp from the Skeledirge hits the Mudsdale, saving the Annihilate from a little bit of extra damage there. Following turn, another Protect from Dragalge as Rage Fist this time aimed into the Mudsdale, trying to finish that off. It's on death's door here, as the burn should knock it out this turn here. Meanwhile, Hex is the move from the Skeledirge to try and finish off the Dragalge, but thanks to that Protect, it's going to stay on the field for the final turn and gets cleaned up by the Rage Fist from Lucky's Annihilate. Very strong showing for the first match. A little bit of a mirror match there makes things a little bit tricky to kind of talk over too, so got to be careful about that. But we're headed into game number 2. Hey, what's going on there? Welcome in, welcome in. Superhero landing indeed, as Mouse Hold, Hatterene are going to try and be the heroes for Lumaris to stay in this fight here. Mouse Hold and Mudsdale make another appearance for Lucky. Follow me from Lumaris' Mouse Hold. It's going to take the Super Fang from Lucky's Mouse Hold, as the Rock Slide one more time to try and get some double damage down onto the Lumaris side of the field. Hatterene, of course, sets up the Trick Room. No flinch there. Mouse Hold switches out into Dragalge for Lumaris, as the Hatterene protects, trying to scout out this next move here. Mudsdale is positioned under Trick Room. Lucky's Mouse Hold's going to protect here, trying to scout out as well, but the Heavy Slam from Mudsdale aimed into Hatterene, not going to find the mark due to that Protect. Lumaris' Mudsdale comes in to fend off against Lucky's Mudsdale, as Rock Slide comes in, pops the Air Balloon from the Dragalge. Mouse Hold has used Follow Me, so it can take the brunt of this Dragon Pulse here. And something curious to note, Stamina is activated on Lumaris' Mudsdale there, so they do have a little bit of a defense advantage here. Protect from Mouse Hold here, as the High Horsepower aimed at Dragalge, gonna try and finish it off with the Terra Water, saves it from any extra damage. Hydro Pump coming in now, Stab, still not enough to do enough damage to the Mudsdale here and finish it off here. Mouse Hold finally escapes the field in favor of the Skeledirge. Dragalge's gonna protect, try and fend off against that High Horsepower, but not baited. Lucky goes for the Rock Slide to try and get the double damage, but they're boosting Mudsdale's defense through that stamina ability, so they gotta be a little bit careful. High Horsepower from the Mudsdale finds a target on Skeledirge, but that defense stat saves it from too much damage, as the Hex from Skeledirge finally finishes off the Dragalge, but in return, it falls to High Horsepower from Lumaris' Mudsdale. High Horsepower in response, aiming at that Mudsdale, still getting those defense boosts through the stamina ability. But now Annihilate and Mouse Hold take the field one more time. Mousehold. From Lumaris' side, gonna population bomb into the Mudsdale and try and get those stamina boosts to its maximum here, but it's still taking quite a considerable amount of damage despite these defense boosts. Just put the Mudsdale below 50% health, which may come back to bite Lumaris in the end, as the Mousehold finally does fall to the Drain Punch from Annihilate. Meanwhile, Mudsdale finishes off Lucky's Mudsdale with the Body Press, now boosted through that max defense stat now. Hattering taking the field one more time as we see Annihilate go for the Terra Water here. This time they're going to use the Beat Up ability though, to try and boost the Rage Fist damage. More than enough to take out the Hatterene now, as it falls and leaves Mudsdale on his own, who uses Rest to heal up all his damage and uses Chesto Berry in order to wake up immediately. Mousehold, Annihilate, both going to protect and scout out what this Mudsdale's trying to do, and it shows off the Earthquake. Another beat up from the Mousehold, trying to increase that Rage Fist damage as much as it can, as the Rage Fist into the Mudsdale. Also, we did see the Focus Energy early on, so that is going to be a critical hit with the boosted Rage Fist move, and that's more than enough to take out the Mudsdale, ignoring those defense boosts altogether. Very strong showing from Lucky as they take this match 2-0 and move on into the semifinals. Congratulations. And good match. I think also pretty good prep too. Like when you look at Mudsdale on either side, like we saw Mousehold, Mudsdale on both sides. You have to kind of expect that those stamina boosts are gonna come no matter what, just because of what you have on the opposing side. So I think this was interesting prep from Lucky to bring the Focus Energy onto the Annihilate to bypass any defense boosts that would have kind of held up the Rage Fist, even with the boost from the beat up on Mousehold. So yeah, legitimately, very, very well played in my opinion. Honestly, over prep for Dondozo. That's how it feels like all the time. It's like, man, I can't let Dondozo ruin my day, so I'm just gonna pull out all the stops to get rid of it. I understand. I can't fault you for it. All right, moving right along, we have our next matchup, which is going to be Starry Skies versus Raikia. Starry Skies on the bottom of your screen with Garchomp, Dedenne, Fletchinder, Scizor, Grafaiai, and Slacking. It's a combination we are familiar with but haven't seen too much of because it tends to fall flat there, the Slacking and the Grafaiai. And then we have Dondozo, Tatsugiri, Palmot, Colossal, Gardevoir, Talonflame on Raikia's side. Right, and the first mon we're going to see on the field is Palmot standing tall next to Talonflame for Raikia. Meanwhile, Starry Sky is going to follow up with Fletchinder, not having access to the Talonflame standing next to the Garchomp. Fake out from the Palmot to lead things off here, as Talonflame from Raikia's side is going to Will-O-Wisp and burn the Garchomp. No Lumberry there, but the Earthquake coming out from Garchomp, gonna bring Palmot down low, but thanks to that burn, not gonna be enough to bring it down to 0% HP or Focus Sash if it has that, so no item information there. Palmot's gonna escape to Dondozo though, as Talonflame is content to just Brave Bird, try and take out the Fletchinder there. Not enough to do the job, so that allows for one more move there. Garchomp with another Earthquake. So I'm not going to do too much damage to the Dondozo that just came in thanks to that burn here. But Fletchinder, still living, does get a Tailwind up, which could swing things in their favor. Dedenne coming onto the field for the first time. I think it's the first time we've seen it at all. Meanwhile, Tatsugiri comes onto the field to give it a Commander boost over to Dondozo. Fletchinder with a Will-O-Wisp unfortunately finds Water Veil to prevent any burn occurring to the Dondozo. While the Dondozo goes for the Order Up into Dedenne with that Fairy typing, nullifies it and prevents any stat boost, crucially enough. Fletchinder escapes out into the Scizor to try and defend against this Dondozo, who is well positioned here. Dedenne with the Nuzzle, trying to paralyze that Dondozo, slow it down just a little bit, buy some few extra turns and see if we can get some extra damage. But Pounce from the Scizor, not enough damage coming out from that move, even with a Technician boost if that's in place. Does lower Dondozo's speed though, so the speed boost from Commander is kind of null and void at this point. Wave Crash though from the Dondozo is more than strong enough, puts a ton of hurt on Scizor, bringing it below 20% health. It's going to protect this turn while Dedenne tries to get off with Super Fang. get Dondozo lower, hopefully try and clean it up on the back end here. The protect from Scizor, Super Fang again from Dedenne into the Dondozo, finally bringing it below 40% health, but the Wave Crash is going to knock Dedenne right back out. The recoil damage though hurts pretty bad, brings Dondozo down to 20% HP. Fletchinder coming in to take Dedenne's spot, tries to Brave Bird, but it's not strong enough to finish off Dondozo. The double up from Scizor's Pounce though is enough, but at what cost? Low health HP on both Pokemon and no Tailwind up. Palmot with the Fake Out stops Scizor from moving. And the Muddy Water from Tatsugiri is the pickup on 2 targets here, leaving just a burned Garchomp while it is healthy. Doesn't have enough damage to try and get the job done. Doesn't have enough speed, unfortunately though. Muddy Water from the Tatsugiri, brings Garchomp down low. Meanwhile, Palmot gets to use Revival Blessing just in case. Earthquake does finish it off, but now there is another Pokemon on the field, and it's going to be Dondozo. Doesn't matter though, Burn is going to finish off the job. Clean up Garchomp, moving us into game number 2 with Raikia at advantage. Here we go, got a lot of Psych to pick up for Starry Skies' side, and they're going to rely on the Dedenne to try and get that Psych taken care of. Next to Garchomp, staring down Palmot and Talonflame once again. Garchomp going to protect, very wary of that Will-O-Wisp from the last game. Meanwhile, Palmot content to just use Fake Out again into the Dedenne. And doesn't have a Covert Cloak, so it is going to flinch, not going to be able to move this turn. Dedenne with a helping hand though, going to try and boost Garchomp's damage before it eventually falls. Flare Blitz from the Talonflame. Very gutsy, doubles up with the Double Shock from Palmot as well to try and get that Dedenne off the field. Recognized it as a potential threat against the Dondozo there, stopping it from using the Order Up. But Helping Hand from Earthquake, gonna take Palmot down to Sash level. However, Talonflame unaffected, still standing tall and healthy. Grafaiai comes into the field, and so does Dondozo. You see a parting shot onto the Talonflame to get Psyking in, and Talonflame is going to use Will-O-Wisp again onto the Garchomp, lowering its physical damage thanks to that burn. Drag Claw from the Garchomp into the Dondozo, still not doing too much here. Garchomp going to protect this turn just to scout out what's going to happen. Dondozo is going to do the same. Talonflame with another Will-O-Wisp, this time aimed into Slaking. As Slaking tries to use Rock Slide, even 4 times effective against Talonflame with that burn, lowers the overall damage, and Talonflame is still living, gets to get off another attack if it wants to later on. Tatsugiri finally coming back out to Omni Boost that Dondozo, healthy Dondozo. No threat of Paralysis or Super Fang this time since Dedenne is down. Garchomp going to escape into the Grafaiai. Meanwhile, Psyking, thanks to its abilities, unable to move this turn. Alright, we got Dondozo with the Order Up finally landing, and it's going to boost its attack, making it even more devastating now. Psyking going to Terra into Electric though, curiously enough. Meanwhile, Grafaiai with the Doodle ability is going to copy the Water Veil ability from Dondozo, which not only prevents burn, but clears the burn once it's been applied. That also clears Psyking's Truant ability, so it's able to move on consecutive turns. Dondozo with the Order Up, finally going to KO the Grafaiai and gets 2 more attack boosts as well. But Psyking also in pretty good position here now with the extra boost there. I think I missed a potential mirror herb there. Excuse me if I did. Psyking with the Terra Blast, Electric into the Dondozo though is going to KO it. You have to excuse me, I'm a little bit lost for words on that one. That was a pretty what's the word I'm looking for? Intricate setup there. Yeah, that was a mirror herb. Yeah, I did miss the mirror herb there. So we have Psyking with the mirror herb, copying the Omni Boost as Tatsugiri gets onto the field, and then we also have Grafaiai coming in using the Doodle to copy the Water Veil ability from Dondozo, clears off the burn that Psyking received earlier on, and also clearing off the Truant ability on Psyking, making it just this juggernaut of a physical attacker. So Terra Blast doing 67% of Dondozo's life, then clearing out the following turn allows Garchomp to clear up the Tatsugiri with the Dragon Claw, doing most of itself, but that burn was still a little bit too devastating here. Excuse me for that one. That was I never get to see the Psyking actually pop off with that Doodle setup, so to actually see it along with the Mirror Herb, the full prep against the Dondozo, that was fun. All right, unfortunately, it moves us into one more round to see if we can get that set up one more time. Or do we get to see Raikia too afraid to use Dondozo and Tatsugiri in the same game? No, they just go for it. Turn 1, expecting that Psyking's not gonna be there. That way he can't copy those boosts with the Mirror Herb. Meanwhile, Scizor and Garchomp gonna be the lead this time. Garchomp with a Protect, Scizor with a Protect, just to scout out the Dondozo here. They are content to just use Order Up, get those attack boosts off early if it can. Garchomp's gonna escape into the Slaking though, trying to prevent a knockout, while Grafai comes in for Starry Skies, trying to get that set up one more time, but the Mirror Herb's not going to, it is going to get the Order Up attack boost, fortunately enough, but it's not going to get the Omni boost, thanks to Dondozo coming in a little bit earlier. Doodle coming in to clear off the Truant ability and get the Water Veil ability, but without the defense boost, the Wave Crash is more than Psyking can handle, and it falls immediately to it. Scizor coming in to try and defend, but the writing may be on the wall here. If Psyking can defend against it, Scizor with neutral, taking neutral damage versus the Dondozo may not be long for this world either. Foul play from the Grafai, gonna find the mark, do a little bit of chip damage, but it's still not enough to clear 50% health just yet. Wave Crash from the Dondozo as Scizor Terras into Terra Water here. Grafai with the Super Fang, try and get Dondozo a little bit lower here. Scizor with the Pounce, trying to follow up and get as much damage as they can, while Dondozo is healing up from the leftovers. Dondozo with Terra Grass now. Grafai with the Foul Play is enough to finally KO the Dondozo. It was looking a little bit devastating for a moment there. Scizor with the Pounce, lowering Tatsugiri's speed as it gets out of the Dondozo's mouth. Palmot though, gonna take place of Dondozo, try and get some things done, as Tatsugiri, to clear out that speed drop, is gonna switch over into Talonflame, who's well positioned right now. Palmot with the Revival Blessing though, gonna bring back the Dondozo that was so devastating earlier on, as the Grafai gets another Foul Play onto the Talonflame, clears that Gale Wings, which may help in the later turns here, but it's content to just Brave Bird and keep on the pressure with attacks, and doubles up with the close combat from Palmot. We'll see Garchomp sitting tall here in these upcoming turns as Scizor enters back onto the field. Dondozo's gonna do the same here. Scizor with the Protect, just to scout out that burn there, but the Will-O-Wisp goes into the Garchomp instead. Dragon Claw still doing very minimal damage thanks to that burn here. Looks like Starry Skies is in a little bit of trouble. Garchomp with the Protect, scouting out some more moves here. Dondozo gonna do the same and heal up a little bit with the leftovers as well. Brave Bird from Talonflame though, gonna bring Scizor down low. Pounce from the Scizor, not gonna find the mark onto the Dondozo there. Right, and we see Talonflame exit the field in favor of Tatsugiri one more time, allowing Dondozo to get one more Omni boost after we spent so much time just trying to clear it off the field. Unfortunately, Palmot brings it back, and that allows it to get an Order Up into the Garchomp, cleared off the field, and the Bullet Punch from Scizor is just going to be doing minimal damage there. Writing's on the wall, and Starry Skies does go ahead and give up the game from there. 2-1 in favor of Raikia. Very well played. One of the better performances we've seen as far as Dondozo and Tatsugiri go, particularly because they were allowed to, Revival Blessing with the Palmot and get the Dondozo back onto the field one more time. Also getting around the situation in game 2 where the Psyking got the impossible setup through the Doodle and the Mirror Herb there by just getting Dondozo onto the field early on. Gets to play a little bit reckless as long as you get the Palmot onto the field with the Revival Blessing and just bring it back for one more round. Very well played. I like it. I don't say that I like Dondozo Tatsugiri matches all that often. Would have been a very different game if Starry Skies let Grafai and Psyking there. Too much to overcome at the start. I get it though. It's like you can't expect. Well, you kind of can, but like the way that the way that Raikia's been leading, it's been mostly it was Talonflame and Palmot for 2 games in a row. So the expectation is that they're going to lead the same thing again, or they're at least not going to lead the Dondozo Tatsugiri, right? Even still, you kind of want the Slaking in position, but if you do so, you put it at risk of being burned. And then now that they know what your scheme is with the Doodle, and then how the interaction with applying Water Veil works, they can start to play around that. You kind of want to try and lead the turns in a way where you're not exposing the Slaking in that strategy too quickly. So I understand where they're coming from there, but I think this Raikia just played around that by leading the Dondozo. There would have had to have been a very hard call on Starry Skies saying, hey, now that they know that, maybe they'll lead the Dondozo so that, I can't activate the mirror. They'd have to get around that somehow. But yeah, I agree. It would have been very interesting to see if they led with that, just to see what goes on. There's even a situation where maybe they double protect on turn 1, expecting the burn going into Slaking. I'm not sure what moveset they have on Slaking. They probably don't have protect on it. At the very least, maybe protect with the Graphite to defend against the fake out from Palmot, and then you still get a doodle. Maybe you doodle Gale Wings, or what's Palmot's ability? I always forget. I don't pay attention to Palmot a lot. Well, it could be Iron Fist or Volt Absorb, right? Yeah, Iron Fist or Volt Absorb. I mean, if it has Volt Absorb, that's useful. If it has Iron Fist, probably not as useful. But then you don't get a chance to get the Water Veil doodle, so that's also a little bit detrimental, especially if you get burned. Overall, I think it's like a tough situation, if I'm being honest, because like this team is so solid. Like Dondozo, Tatsugiri, Palmot, Talonflame is just incredibly strong. Like if you just want to be reckless early on, you're allowed to do so as long as Palmot stays alive in the back and can outspeed anything on the team. It looks like it was Adamant Garchomp, because I think it got outsped by the wait, hold on. Palmot is base 105 and Garchomp's base 102. Never mind. I thought Palmot was a little bit slower than Garchomp, but yeah, it pretty much outspeeds everything on this team. So as long as it stays hidden in the back at some point, alive with Revival Blessing, Raikia just gets to play reckless the entire game. Meanwhile, Starry Skies has to like protect all of their physical damage threats, because that's all they have are physical damage threats. Garchomp, it doesn't seem like they were using Sword Stance at all, so they're kind of limited on offense, especially into Dondozo with the higher defense stat. You have Slaking, which requires a very delicate, very intricate setup to actually get the job done. And then you have Scizor, also seemingly not using Sword Stance or not feeling like they have the room to do so. No Lumberry to be found to defend against the burn. They're just kind of, they were really jammed up, in my opinion. It's really hard for them to get their offense going. They have a lot of support from Fletchinder, Dedenne, and Grafai, but like, they can only do so much. Honestly, Dedenne was like doing the most on their team with like Super Fang and Nuzzle. Imagine how I felt you had to fight 3 Dondozo last time. Dude. You were the chosen one. That's all it is. Thought of a creative way of dealing with Talonflame lead like that with Grafai. Do the Talonflame, Terra Flying, Terra Blast. Yep. I mean, as long as you retain enough health on Psyking, sure. Could have been heat. But obviously, the goal was putting it in front of Dondozo, so they just went for Terra Electric to have a strong attacking move into it. So I get it, but it would have been interesting to see. Absolutely, no doubt. Alright, enough of that though. We still got a couple more matches to go through, and the next one up is Datrevdo versus Dragon Boy. Datrevdo on the bottom side of your screen with Goldingo, Azumarill, Salazzle, Pachirisu, Serena, and Luxray. Am I doing that right? I said Datrevdo, right? Both of these players have D at the start of the name, so I'm got a little bit mixed up there. But that's Datrevdo on the bottom of your screen. Dragon Boy 2100. Let me make sure I say the full name like a Tribe Called Quest. Dragon Boy 2100 on the top of your screen with Dragonite, Tauros, Water version, Pelipper, Dreadnought, Jolteon, and Raichu. Let's take a look. I'm just confirming this is game number 1, where Serena and Luxray are going to lead off for Datrevdo here. They're going to find Pelipper and Dreadnought starting things off for us on Dragon Boy's side of the field. Dreadnought going to escape over into the Dragonite, while the Luxray wild charges the Pelipper down to their Focus Sash. Pelipper, though, can just use Icy Wind, lowering the speed of both of Datrevdo's Pokemon. Not too much of a worry, though, as they have the speed advantage with Dreadnought on the field, but in fear of their life because of Serena. Pelipper going to use Tailwind on the following turn, as Dragonite uses Outrage, aims into the Luxray to clear it off the field, as Serena uses Play Rough to bring Dragonite down low. Not going to do the job of finishing off, though. Only 65% health, even without multi-scale there. Azumarill, though, finally coming out on the field and going to use Terra Water. Under Rain, Aqua Jet finishes the Dragonite off, and Serena with a Trailblaze attack. We don't see that too often, trying to get that speed back on, that speed stack back onto it without having to switch back out. Azumarill still in pretty good position, though, as the Dreadnought terrestrializes into the Grass type. Aqua Jet from the Azumarill going to clear the Raichu off the field thanks to that Rain boost that it has. Ice Spinner from the Dreadnought, not enough to take out the Serena, brings it down low, as Serena uses Power Whip. We've seen 3 grass moves so far. Right, does a little bit of chip damage to Dreadnought, but of course stands tall thanks to that grass typing now. Aqua Jet aimed into the Dreadnought, not enough to finish it off. Rock Slide going to come out to try and get some double damage on the field, double dip a little bit. It is carrying Life Orb, so it is chipping away at its own life as well as it does this. Pelipper only going to be able to use Icy Wind here, which Azumarill doesn't care too much about thanks to that Aqua Jet priority. Goldingo finally coming in as the Rain clears off the field. Aqua Jet from the Azumarill is more enough to finish off the Dreadnought, and Shadow Ball from Goldingo is enough to do the same versus the Pelipper. Datrevdo wins game number 1 quite handily, in my opinion. I know we have 2 Pokemon left on the field after losing Luxray and Serena there, but Dragon Boy's a little bit jammed up there. I'm not sure if they expected Azumarill Terra Water to do so much damage, but Datrevdo taking advantage of the rain that Dragon Boy's setting up for him, turning it on his head, kind of puts Dragon Boy in a little bit of a jam here. Let's see what happens in game number 2. This time we're going to see Pachirisu and Serena leading things off for us, as Dragonite comes onto the field alongside Jolteon. They don't want to set up the rain too quickly here, afraid of that Azumarill. Terra Ice on the Jolteon, showing its head early, and the Terra Blast, probably aimed for the Serena there, does a pretty good chunk of damage over the Pachirisu. Gets doubled up on by the Dragonite thanks to Follow Me. The Stomping Tantrum does more than enough. Serena with the Play Rough, doing almost 70% damage to the Dragonite there, should be a hint that this is the inner focus version of Dragonite here. Luxray going to protect as it comes into the field. Meanwhile, we see Terra Blast from the Jolteon, doing over 70% of Serena's life there. Not enough to kill. Stomping Tantrum aimed into the Luxray, not going to find the mark thanks to that protect, and Play Rough clears the Dragonite off the field. Tauros coming in hot, uses the Intimidate ability to lower the damage from Luxray and Serena, but Serena is just going to be cleared off the field thanks to that Terra Blast. Close Combat from the Tauros, not enough for a KO, but pretty significant damage. This brings Luxray into Citrus Berry range. Tauros switches out thanks to that Eject Pack and its stats soaring from the Close Combat, and the Raichu comes in to defend against the Wild Charge, giving Raichu that special attack boost thanks to the Lightning Rod. Tauros comes back onto the field, further lowering Luxray's potential damage here, and Azumarill on the field as well. Not going to be able to move thanks to the Fake Out Flinch from Raichu as it uses Terra Water, trying to get some maximum damage this turn. Ice Fang from the Luxray, aimed into the Tauros, who misses it, so Tauros is still at full health here. Azumarill one more time trying to get these Aqua Jets off and clear the Raichu off the field so Luxray can move, but Raichu just protects again, or just protects this turn. Meanwhile, Close Combat from the Tauros again, aimed into Luxray and gets it off of the field here. Finally get a Aqua Jet from the Azumarill, who's Terra Water, into the Raichu, but it's not enough for a KO, and it gets brought down pretty low thanks to that Thunderbolt. While it still lives, the Tauros has enough damage in the tank to close out the KO with a Close Combat, moving us into game number 3. Datrevdo trying to rely onto the Azumarill one more time, but without the rain, and with Dragon Ball maneuvering around pretty well, was unable to get Azumarill moving the same way as game 1. So let's see what the adjustment is in game number 3. Dragon Boy's Pelipper also didn't have Hurricane. They accidentally put Agility in that slot. It's unfortunate. So they had to rely on the Icy Wind damage to understand. Alright, game number 3 though. Datrevdo with Salazzle and Azumarill staring down Dragonite and Tauros to Dragon Boy's side of the field. Tauros is going to lead us off with a Protect, scouting out that Fake Out from the Salazzle. Stomping Tantrum from the Dragonite, going to bring Salazzle down to Focus Sash, as the Ice Spinner comes out from the Azumarill and clears Dragonite off the field. I think it's very significant. Dragonite poses a very great threat, outside of the Azumarill there. Jolteon's going to take its place though, as we see Raichu switching back in here. And Luxray coming in on Datrevdo's side. Jolteon with another Terra Ice. And it's going to use Discharge. Curiously enough, Raichu's going to be unbuffered thanks to that Lightning Rod ability. Gets a special attack boost. The spread damage is not going to find its way though, because Salazzle protects, and Luxray takes it quite handily. Salazzle's going to escape into Goldingo though. Gets hit by the Nuzzle from the Raichu, gets paralyzed here. Luxray with another Ice Fang for this game as well. Hits the Tauros, but does very minimal damage here, especially with its attack lower and Intimidate ability. Goldingo going to use Terra Grass here to try and defend against this Tauros, and versus the Raichu, who uses Thunderbolt. Not very effective damage now. Luxray with another Ice Fang, trying to get the other freezes onto the Tauros here. Alright, Goldingo's going to be paralyzed from this turn though. There's not much it can do. Luxray escapes out into the Azumarill, who takes a Thunderbolt for its troubles. Bring it really low and gets doubled up by the Raging Bull. That's an unfortunate turn from Datrevdo, as Azumarill's been putting in so much work for the team so far. Goldingo does get a chance to use Shadow Ball though, bringing Raichu into Citrus Berry range. Salazzle coming onto the field one more time as Raichu uses Protect. Tauros goes for a Protect as well, nullifying that fake out turn. Goldingo content to use another Shadow Ball, trying to get that Raichu out of the field, so this Luxray can move on the back end here. Aqua Jet from Tauros, gonna finish off the Salazzle. And Thunderbolt one more time from the Raichu into the Goldingo, doing minimal damage right now. Shadow Ball actually aiming into the Tauros to bring it low. Very interesting decision here as Luxray comes in to try and defend against the last of Dragon Boy's squad. The Intimidate is going to activate the Eject Pack, force Jolteon to come back out here though. And with the Terra Blast Ice, this puts Datrevdo in a very tricky situation here. Ice Fang also not going to do effective damage to the Jolteon here, as the Terra Blast responds from the Jolteon into the Luxray, and followed up by a Thunderbolt here. Looks like the writing is on the walls. Datrevdo staring down a 3v1 with a very healthy Jolteon and not enough damage on the Luxray to clean up. That leads Dragon Boy here to win the game 2-1. Congratulations, moving on into the semifinals. I just had to check that was game 3. Want to make sure I was doing this in order. Yeah, those are really cool game 1 from Datrevdo. Like, we saw how much work Azumarill put up. Dragon Boy though made the adjustment, said, hey, we're not bringing Pelipper. No need to boost Azumarill's own damage. And then they, I think they did really position very well around Azumarill in game number 2. Game number 3, I think a crucial turn was getting that call into Azumarill as it switched in with the double up and cleared off the field. Datrevdo just did not have enough damage outside the Goldingo after that. And with the Terra Ice on Jolteon versus the Terra Grass on a paralyzed Goldingo, not much they could really do there. They were stuck after that one KO. So, but congratulations to Dragon Boy. I think a lot of people have looked at their team as I think someone mentioned it last stream. They were kind of a dark horse of this competition, but I legitimately think that, while I don't really care for the full lineup, I'm not really a Dreadnought fan. I think Rain plus Dragonite is one of the stronger combinations, at least in this Series 1 draft league. Quite legitimately, I think, like in Series 1, just in like the regular format, right? We saw from the Orlando regional, there were like top 16, top 32, there were like 3 or 5 different Dragonite plus Rain squads. So that kind of combination was on the come up, and I think it's no exception here in this draft league, where you're a little bit limited on resources, where it's still pretty strong as well. And in this matchup, it kind of showed how strong it was. I think Datrevdo just had a ton of issues trying to defend against it if Azumarill was down. All right, give me just a second, peeps. Alright, happy to see Jolteon doing work here. I can agree. I can agree just a little bit. Because I think it's, when it comes to the evolutions, I think the variety of them in the Draft League helps solidify any types that you're missing. It's like, oh, I don't have an electric type. I get Jolteon. It's not a bad special attacker. I don't have a bulky water type. Pick up Vaporeon. It's got a high HP pool, which helps solidify its defenses. Like, you just, you know, buff up its defenses a lot. It's actually a decent special attacker as well. It gets Calm Mind too. Mighty Water, you know, not bad. Sylveon, of course, kind of the cream of the crop for the evolutions. So yeah, anytime that those get a chance to pop off, I think it's kind of a really cool thing to see, because they tend to be, most of them tend to be like lower tier picks. But yeah, depending on what you have on your team, they can kind of really round out your team. We even saw here the Jolteon next to the Raichu. They're using Discharge to get around the Lightning Rod, apply AoE damage as well, which I think is ends up being an effective strategy. Yeah, very glue picks for rosters. That's definitely one way to put it. I agree. All right. Final matchup to go through. I'm going to refer to them as Elt for the stream. eltlxee versus Comedier. Elt on the bottom of your screen with Mimikyu, Baxcalibur, Kingambit, Glimmora, Fungus, and Toxtricity. Comedier coming onto the field with Annihilate, Pelipper, Palafin, Medicham, Dreadnought, and Fungus. We get another glance at Rain here. See how it turns out. Mimikyu leading things off for us next to Fungus, as Comedier sends out Pelipper and their Dreadnought, just leading things off just like the last game with these Rain Pokemon. See Rage Powder from the Fungus here. Start things off, but Rock Slide is going to skirt around that single target damage there. Hurricane from the Pelipper, get to see that one this game, bringing Fungus down to 1% health, 2% health, but not enough for a KO, as the Mimikyu gets set up the Trick Room very comfortably. Dreadnought with the Protect, as the Fungus goes for a Spore into the Dreadnought. Pelipper is going to use the Hurricane to try and break the disguise here, and getting confusion onto the Mimikyu as well. Mimikyu is able to attack them, gets a Shadow Claw off, chipping away at Pelipper, getting rid of that Focus Sash if it has one. Alright, but it's going to have to escape into the Toxtricity so it can do some more damage, as the Fungus finds the Spore onto the Pelipper this turn. Another Rock Slide coming out from Dreadnought, finishes off the Fungus, and misses the Toxtricity, unfortunately for it. Alright, we see Baxcalibur now coming onto the field, trying to get some damage down. Terra Grass from Toxtricity. Probably a Terra Blast incoming here, maybe? Dreadnought's going to protect the Scout out and try and find out. Overdrive is actually the move. Clears Pelipper off of the field, as the Baxcalibur gets to use Swords Dance. And with 2 more turns of Trick Room, can sit and live versus with a Protect here if it chooses to do so. Dreadnought going to Terra into an Electric type to defend against these Overdrives here. Very well prepped, I think. Fungus with a Spore from Comedier's side. Not going to find the target on the Baxcalibur, who did Protect for this last turn of Tailwind. Or Trick Room, excuse me. Overdrive from the Toxtricity. Going to get launched, but defended well against from the Fungus, and Terra Electric now on the Dreadnought. It's going to escape into the Mimikyu now, as the Fungus uses Rage Powder to take any moves that Baxcalibur sends its way. But Dreadnought actually moves ahead of it, using Rock Slide, chipping away at the Baxcalibur, doing significant damage, over half of its health. There was a crit onto the Fungus with the Icicle Spear. Not sure if it mattered thanks to that Swords Dance either way. Clears it off the field, and Annihilate takes its place. Shadow Sneak from the Mimikyu, chipping away at the Dreadnought a little bit further, as the Annihilate shows off Bulk Up. Dreadnought going to use Rock Slide now, knowing that it's faster than Baxcalibur, trying to clear that off the field. Even though the Protect, though, the follow-up on the following turn with the Drain Punch from the Annihilate, also faster than the Baxcalibur. Crucial information to have. Clears off the Baxcalibur, and Shadow Claw finally finishes off Dreadnought. But Elt finds himself in a tough position versus Annihilate with a +1 bulk up. Uses Drain Punch onto the Toxtricity and gets a critical hit and finishes it off. Shadow Claw from the Mimikyu gets a critical hit, crucially enough, to lead us into these final turns here. Annihilape's going to try and protect here and get some leftovers recovery. Hope that's enough to survive these shadow sneaks. Actually gets a double protect, getting an extra turn of leftovers recovery. Still very crucial as Mimikyu needs the shadow sneak if it wants a chance at KOing the Annihilate. Now that goes for one more protect. Probably did some damage calcs, realized that even with a +1 defense boost, that health is not enough to survive the shadow sneak. Doesn't get the triple protect. That would have been a wild turn there. And finally falls to the shadow sneak, where Elt sneaks a win out in game number 1. Critical hit was huge. It is Shadow Claw, so it is a higher critical hit ratio, so we got to expect eventually it'll get one. And in game number 2, it's going to have to make a repeat performance because it looked a little bit tricky for Elt here, as they lead off with Toxtricity and Fungus versus Pelipper and Dreadnought one more time. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Fungus with a protect, no threat of Trick Room this time. We do see a wide guard from Pelipper to defend against the overdrive if Toxtricity survives here. Does pretty comfortably, takes the rock slide, but gets flinched though. Very unfortunate turn 1 for Elt here as we see another rock slide from the Dreadnought. We're hoping for a 2-hit KO there, doesn't find it there, brings Toxtricity low though. Gets a KO onto the Fungus with the Hurricane and crucially gets another flinch. Toxtricity has not been able to move the entirety of these first 2 turns here. Another rock slide as Mimikyu comes in, finishes off the Toxtricity and busts the disguise from the Mimikyu here. Hydro Pump from the Pelipper, not enough for the KO onto the Mimikyu, who was allowed to set up Trick Room going into these next turns, but it is on life alert right now. Baxcalibur takes the field one more time. Terra's into a grass type and takes the Hurricane. Pelipper is actually slower, underspeeding on the Baxcalibur, unfortunately. Gets the Hurricane into the Baxcalibur, applies the confusion, and it ends up hurting itself, unable to move either. That slot has not been able to move this entire game. Another rock slide from the Dreadnought finishes off the battle for Comedier. That was very drastic and unfortunate for Elt. My goodness. Commanding position from the Dreadnought, Pelipper lead this time. Toxtricity unable to move, Baxcalibur unable to move. What can they do? Yo, Rain, what's going on? How you feeling today? Been a minute, just doing some Pokemon review here as we lead into game number 3 of our final match for today. Game 2, incredibly devastating. All right, for Elt, Mimikyu leading off with Toxtricity right next to it. Staring down one more time, Pelipper, Dreadnought. Comedier very confident in this lead, no need to change things up. Toxtricity gonna tear it into grass one more time. Pelipper with the wide guard to defend against overdrive again. Another rock slide from Dreadnought. Busts the disguise of Mimikyu. Hits the Toxtricity. And this time, Toxtricity gets to move using Volt Switch over overdrive to get around the wide guard. KOs the Pelipper and gets to reposition into Baxcalibur. They get the Trick Room, they get to set up the Trick Room, so now they got the position they've been wanting since game number 2. Fungus though comes out on the field, also a very good user of Trick Room, a better user than Baxcalibur. Gets the Spore off onto the Mimikyu, but Safety Goggles prevents the sleep from occurring. Taunt from the Mimikyu, gonna find its way onto Fungus as the Baxcalibur protects from these rock slides from any potential spores. But with Fungus taunted, no need to worry about that. Pollen Puff from the Fungus, not enough to KO the Mimikyu, resists it. Glaive Rush finally coming out from the Baxcalibur, gets to underspeed the Dreadnought as well. Shadow Claw from the Mimikyu, double up is more than enough to take it out. Dreadnought, the major threat on Comedier's team, finally falls down. Annihilape's going to take its place and try and defend against this well-positioned Baxcalibur here. Pollen Puff from the Fungus, with Baxcalibur under the effects of Glaive Rush, takes a little bit of extra damage there, but is content to just launch Icicle Spear so we can get the Fungus off the stage, prevent the threat of Rage Powder or Spores coming in from later turns once the taunt wears off. Meanwhile, Shadow Claw from the Mimikyu into the Annihilate, gonna do a little bit of chip damage as the Rage Fist comes out from the Annihilate, taking advantage of that defense drop through the Glaive Rush here. But they're staring down a 2v1, and the Glaive Rush follow-up under Trick Room, under speeding the Annihilate is more than enough to close out the game for Elt, who was in a very tricky situation in game number 2. Found the right position in game number 3 and came back and moves into the semifinals. Congratulations. Yeah, this match was a mess of RNG. Game number 2 was wild. It was number 1. That's good. Thank you. Yeah, there's a league that's going on right now. I was participating, but I lost earlier. So I've just been going over the replays of the matches, kind of commentating over it, kind of testing my skill at doing that. And we're moving into the final stages pretty soon. This upcoming week is the semifinals, so I'll probably do this again, or maybe just record a YouTube video to keep it simple. But the streams have been fun, so I've been trying to do that recently. Yeah, that's all 4 games from this week, so we're not spending 2-3 whole hours reviewing replays like last time. Man, this was... Oh, I gotta see this again. This was